Simon Peter has a boat. In fact, one of those boats belongs to him. He has a steady business, a solid conventional business. He has brick and mortar. In this present day and age, he has a vessel on the sea, or he has a building, a corporate building where he's got his staff. He has to pay the mortgage of that building. If he's already paid for, he has to pay the running cost. If he has a vessel on the sea, it's the same thing. But he has caught nothing all night. He's going to have to pay the staff, whether he caught something or not. Now they were washing their nets. The net that has not caught anything, they are washing it, getting ready to go home in despair. Even though they had not caught anything all night, they still have to wash the nets and get ready to go home in despair as losers. Some of you are in business that is not productive. Yes, it's costing you a lot of money to keep it going. You have no choice. You have to keep it going. But alas, hold your peace. Jesus is here to put an end to that today. They were washing their nets. Now let's go to verse 3. Pay attention to that. Then he got into one of the boats, which was Simon's, and asked him to put out a little from the land. There were two boats, ladies and gentlemen, but he chose Simon's. Why? Well, God does as he pleases. I will have mercy on who I will have mercy on. And when God decides to choose you, to choose your family, to solve your problem, you don't ask questions. You are just grateful. He chose Simon's boat, instructed him to move it into the water a little, instructed him to change position. Jesus is about to address the multitudes, a congregation of people. The boat is already by the harbor, already packed. And he said, okay, you know what? Just moved it a little bit into the water, because Jesus knew what was about to happen. Even though Simon Peter did not know, Jesus knew that the multitude that he was about to address are a point of contact for the number of fish in that lake that will be harvested by Peter. So in order to let that happen, Jesus was setting Peter up for his breakthrough. You know what? Gentlemen, just move your boat a little bit off the land, just a little bit into the water. Now, for you to catch a lot of fish, fishermen will tell you that you need to go into deep sea. That's where you can get a lot of fish. But Jesus said, no, just do me a favor, move it a little bit into the water, setting Simon up for the harvest. Now, Simon took care of God's business first. This is somebody who has not harvested anything all night. This is somebody who was already frustrated. This is somebody who was already worried about overhead. Somebody who's already worried about his business going bankrupt. But when Jesus showed up, Simon took care of God's business first. What does that tell us? Simon could have ordered Jesus out of my boat. I'm not interested. Or rather, he welcomed Jesus into his boat. What does that tell you and me? You have a choice. Whatever is happening in your life, whatever the situation in your life, there is no excuse not to do the work of God, especially when God has instructed you. Some of you, God has put in your mind what you should do for him. God has told you your part to play in his kingdom, spreading, but you are using excuses. Oh, I haven't got the time. I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Oh, it's my children. Oh, it's my work schedule. Okay. Oh, it's because I'm broke, I don't have the money. Okay. You see, you have to learn this lesson this afternoon. Simon Peter was not feeling good. Simon Peter has not just had his boat full of fish when Jesus arrived. Jesus arrived in the middle of Simon's challenges. Yet, learn this lesson from Simon Peter. He took care of God's work first. Jesus was welcome and made to feel comfortable on the boat. Why? Because the Bible told us that Jesus sat down verse 3. I read again. Then he got into one of the boats, which was Simon's, and asked him to put out a little from the land. And he sat down and taught the multitudes from the boat. You don't get into somebody's property, house, boat, or car and sit down unless you are welcome. So the fact that he sat down to address the multitude tells me that Simon Peter was very hospitable towards Jesus. Now, verse 4. When he had stopped speaking, he said to Simon, "Launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch." Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to pay attention to nets. It's in the plural. Simon Peter was instructed to launch out into the deep. And what? Let down your nets for a catch. That is after speaking to the multitudes, after delivering the message. So Simon Peter was patient. Not only did he make Jesus comfortable, he allowed him to finish speaking to the congregation. And then Jesus now said to him, simple and clear instruction, let down your nets. Because don't forget, they were washing their nets in plural. He's now telling him to let down same nets. Let's see what happened in verse 5. But Simon answered and said to him, pay attention to the conjunction, but. Wherever there is a but, as a student of linguistics, it tells me that what's about to follow is contrary to what was coming before. Now, but, which tells me that Simon Peter reluctantly let down the net. If Simon Peter obeyed the instruction fully or was enthusiastic about letting down the net, the Bible would have said, and Simon Peter. But he said, but Simon Peter answered and said to him. It also sets the premises for the excuses Simon Peter is going to make now. Master, we have toiled all night and caught nothing. Nevertheless, at your word, I will let down the net. Not the nets. Okay, this is the story of our life. However, I'm going to let down the net. I'm going to let down one of the nets. Now, Jesus did not ask Simon Peter for a autobiography or biography. He didn't ask him about the story of what happened since you've been here since last night. All he told him was just let down the net, and he could have done that without uttering a word. But ladies and gentlemen, I am reading the New King James versions of the Bible. My Bible, reading that in verse 5, I counted. Simon Peter spent unnecessary 19 words to let Jesus know why he is reluctant to let down the net. Go with me on verse 5. Master, word number 1. We, number 2. Have, number 3. Toiled, number 4. All, number 5. Night, number 6. And, number 7. Caught, number 8. Nothing, number 9. Nevertheless, number 10. At, number 11. Your, number 12. Word, number 13. I, number 14. Will, number 15. Let, number 16. Down, number 17. The, number 18. Net, number 19. 19 unnecessary words. Let down the net. How many times has God given you an instruction? And you kept going around the mountain, going around the wilderness, giving God the excuses why you think you cannot do it. Because physically, it doesn't make sense to you. I have good news for you. His ways are not your ways. Before God sends you, He's made the preparation. So this afternoon, I am imploring you, I'm encouraging you to wake up from your slumber. Do as God has asked you to do and let the miracle happen. All he needed to do is let down his net without saying a word and get his breakthrough. But no, Simon used 19 words before reluctantly obeying Jesus. How do I know he's reluctant? In addition to the fact that the Bible says, but, I know he's reluctant because he let down the net. Partial obedience is disobedience. He did not let down all the nets. He had crew with him that had worked all night. That was an opportunity for everybody to spread their net to the lake. They said, no, I'll let down the net. Simon almost sabotaged his own breakthrough. Ladies and gentlemen, because of his expertise in fishing. This is a fisherman. Fishing has been his business for a number of years. He is an expert. And this man of God showed up, called Jesus, preaching to people, telling him at the point of discouragement, at the point of challenge, how to do the business that he does every day. He needs a professor of fishing to tell him that, not somebody who is preaching. So because of that, he's missing it, because of his expertise in fishing. Also, his experience last night. He just had a full night vigil, which amounted to nothing. He did not catch a single fish. His knowledge of Lake Gennesaret, he knew that lake very well. That's where he walks every day. So for somebody to tell him just go a little bit out of land, he knew if you needed to even stand any chance of catching, you need to go into the middle, into the deep part of the lake. This is the lake he's been fishing all night. He knew the nook and cranny of that lake. So all these things were standing in the way of him, allowing the mere breakthrough to come true. Because of his despair, he's already discouraged. That's why he was washing his nets to go back home. Because probably exhaustion is mentally, he's tired. He's been working all night. There's no result. Lack of result. All these things. But I have news for you, brethren. Jesus is here today. When you are down to nothing, somebody says Jesus is up to something. Permit him to do the miracle in your life, just like he's done in the life of Simon Peter.